You see why we can't have other kids echoes? Horrible. That's why we can't have. Only here. That doesn't happen if everyone has here.
You're live.
We're going live on? So we start. Mr. President, we're just checking some technical issue. Be ready in a moment. Mr. President, we are ready.
Okay, this meeting of the Essex County Board of Chosen Freeholders is hereby called to order. Due to the COVID-19 outbreak and to be in compliance with the governor's executive order, this meeting is being conducted remotely. The public is able to view this meeting via live stream on YouTube. A link for the live stream has been posted on our website, which is www.ecfnj.com. To all participating in this meeting, please be mindful to put your microphone on mute until speaking. Additionally, please identify yourself by putting your name on the record each time before you speak. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Freeholder Cooper.
Here.
Freeholder Graham.
Here.
Freeholder Johnson.
Here.
Freeholder Luciano.
Here.
Freeholder Mercado.
Here.
Freeholder Pomares.
Here.
Freeholder Siebel. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Here.
Freeholder President Gill.
Here. Okay, we will omit the salute to the flag since we are conducting the meeting remotely. For all those that we have lost or have been affected by COVID-19, we'd like to please pause for a moment of silence. Thank you. I have before me certification from the clerk that this meeting is in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Madam Clerk, are there any transcripts to be approved?
And Mr. President, there are two conference board meetings, June 10th, 2020 and July 9th, 2020.
Freeholders, do I have any comments? Okay, I have a motion from Freeholder Cooper and a second from Freeholder Graham to approve the transcripts. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, Madam Clerk, are there any topics for discussion?
Mr. President, we have two. The first is for a update from the Civilian Oversight Board, and then the second presentation will be regarding an update on the election in November. And we'll start with the chair of the Civilian Oversight Board, Governor McGreevy.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Governor.
I will check. We're checking for access, Mr. President. Give us a moment. Mr. President, we're going to switch the order of the presentations. We're going to start with the Board of Elections, and we're going to, through you, Mr. President, we'll ask Linda Bonessi, the clerk to the Board of Elections, to start the presentation. Also, we have joining her is Chris Durkin, clerk of the county. And then by phone, I believe Patty Spangle is joining, representing the Superintendent's Board of Elections. Linda, would you like to start?
Yes, Linda Bonessi, clerk of the Essex County Board of Elections. Good afternoon, Freeholder President Gale, President Freeholder Richardson, and members of the Board of Freeholders. I think this will probably be the last time I address you by that. I'm glad to be here. I was asked to come before the board, as was Chris and Patty, discuss the preparations for this presidential election. The governor did give us more notice on when the method of election being a hybrid, mostly by mail. However, any questions that you have, I have to tell you that.
Excuse me, but we can't. Thank you. I can't really hear Deborah. I'm sorry.
All right, hold on. We'll put her on earphones. She's in the chambers. Hold on 1 second.
Okay, is that better?
That's much
Yes.
better.
Okay, sorry. Okay. We're still waiting for the Secretary of State's office and the Attorney General's office to give us directives on the implementation so that we stay within the guidelines of New Jersey election statutes. There's 3 offices that govern this executive order and this election. I am going to cover what falls under the jurisdiction of the Board of Elections. That would be the polling places, the poll workers, the counting of the provisional ballots, training of workers, receiving, processing, and counting the mail-in and provisional ballots, and then certifying the results. Polling places, the executive order, as it did in the primary election, requires that we use 50% of our polling places. We have approximately 300 polling places in Essex County, so we expect to use 150 polling places for the general election. Within this polling place, there'll be 3 methods of voting. The first being the ADA voter will be able to come and vote on an audio component. They have to sign a disability certificate, and then they will vote. There's a provisional ballot voter that may walk in and say they did not receive their mail-in ballot, and they are entitled to vote on the provisional ballot. I heard today that previously we were told they were going to have to sign the poll book. That's still up for discussion with the Attorney General's office. So I'm not sure whether they will have to sign or they will just proceed as they have always, just sign the affirmation. Then we have the mail-in ballot voter. This executive order allows a voter to bring their own, and I emphasize their own mail-in ballot into the polling place. We have ordered ballot boxes for the mail-in ballots to be deposited in by the voter. They will have to sign the poll book. The law requires that an in-person voter or a bearer signs a bearer book. That will, the poll book will take the place of that. So anyone coming in with a ballot, they can only bring their own and they have to sign the poll book. They are changes. I'm happy to say, in the discussion of polling places, Essex County is partnering with the Prudential Center. We are going to have 6 to 8 polling places from the city of Newark that will be conducted in the Prudential Center. The Superintendent of Elections office, Chris Durkin, and myself visited the site. We were very well received. Anything that we want them to do, they are willing to do, in addition to purchasing a ballot box or right outside their location. So we're excited about that, and we will have more information on that in the future. Poll workers, I'm very happy to say that we partnered with President Bill on an initiative to recruit poll workers. We have had a tremendous response to this. Actually, we have received so far 250 applicants that want to work the polls on election day. We're processing them. They may just be greeters, and for anyone I know, Freeholder Siebel knows what a greeter is. They actually stand in front of the location and direct the voter to the table and district that they belong in and get the process going. We are going to have online poll worker training. I'm working now with a vendor to have this production made. It will be available early October. It will be on our website. We have a new website that's going up, hopefully within a week. And they will be able to view the online training of how to process a voter and how to use the voting machine. Now to the biggie. From what I'm told from our printer, there will be approximately 530,000 ballots mailed out to the voters and active voters in Essex County. In July, we received about 125,000 ballots back. In May, which were only 6 municipalities, we received 43,000 ballots back. So we're expecting no less than 300,000 for this election. I have to tell you, as great as the administration has been through the May and July election, they have really done everything that we have asked for in order to conduct an efficient and orderly election in November. We are going to be using the new conference rooms in the new parking deck to scan in our ballots. We will be operating out of the college again. We will be in the Hall of Records, and we will be in the Sheila Oliver room. For anyone that's not aware, we are now going to be, the law has changed, and we will start scanning ballots in 10 days before election. That's going to allow for a speedier tally, and while it's allowing for the candidates to have an earlier tally and the state to have our certification, it's going to really require a tremendous amount of staff working on a lot of different processes to this election. So we'll be counting ballots while we're receiving ballots, and we'll be training, and we'll be opening. So anything that we need, the administration has been right there by our side, and hopefully May and July was successful. Hopefully we'll have a great election in November. I'm sure we will, and it won't be because we're not trying. If there's any little hiccups, we'll take care of them. Our office in the Hall of Records is going to be used primarily for the polling places, the board workers, and phone banks. And there'll be a lot of calls, a lot of questions, where their ballot is, did we receive it? That is, they can get that information online if it's accurate through the SVRS. Hopefully that will be advertised, and the state will they're doing a lot of education for this election, so hopefully voters will be aware of that. Any questions that you have, I will try and answer your questions. Just as I said in the beginning, there's a lot that we're not 100% sure about yet. We're still waiting on the Secretary of State and the Attorney General's office. And that's my report. Thank you.
President, I have a question.
Sure.
Linda, you talked about a website where people can go on to find out the instructions to work at the polls. What is that website? For example, can I go on and watch it?
Yes, you can. It's Essex Board of Elections.com.
I'm sorry, Essex?
Board of Elections.com. Now, if you go on now, it's the old website. You're going to see the demonstration of the old machine. Once we're done, you will see the new machine demonstrated and the process for the November election. But there are videos on there now.
When will this be ready for me to watch?
You can watch the old one right now.
When will
But
the new one be ready?
Early October.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Early October.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Through you, Mr. President, do you want to hear from all the presenters and then have questions?
Sure.
Clerk Chris Durkin.
Yes, good afternoon through you, Mr. President. We are in the process of proofing the ballots. We should be completed with proofing the ballots tomorrow afternoon because we have 2 municipalities running nonpartisan elections for the November 3rd election. West Orange for town council and Cedar Grove for town council for an unexpired term. So tomorrow afternoon we'll be complete with the proofing of ballots. We'll be able to start printing ballots on Friday and Saturday. And then, the next step would be the federal ballots. To get the federal ballots out, we need to get the federal ballots emailed out to federal voters by September 18th, which is a federal law 45 days prior to election day. And we're going to be able to do that. And I think it's almost 4,000 federal ballots. So Linda has a lot of counting to do. October 5th is the deadline the governor has placed on all of the county clerks to mail out ballots to all registered voters. We're looking to mail ballots out sooner than that. We're targeting a date of September 28th. So September 28th to mail more than 530,000 ballots to registered voters of Essex County. And then it'll just be a daily mailing of all new registered voters, because voters have until October 13th to newly register or change of address. So that'll be a real crunch every day getting ballots out to newly registered voters and change of address voters. An outreach campaign to the voters to tell them about how this election is being conducted. Was able to produce a PSA, which will be airing on Comcast, Verizon, Cablevision, explaining the process in just 30 seconds, the nuts and bolts of this process. Plus, I've been, on Zoom calls, invitations to every meeting I possibly can be on. We're going to have on Monday a how-to video produced, how to vote the ballot, which will be on video, and also a written document as how to vote a vote by mail ballot. Also, I'm hoping to have the list of the secure ballot drop boxes in the ballot mailing to voters. So I'm hoping to have that so the the voters, even though there's prepaid postage on the return ballots, which I want to thank you, Mr. President, and the Freeholder Board for supporting that about 8-10 years ago to include that. And Essex was at that time only one of 3 counties in New Jersey to do that. And now the governor has mandated that all return ballots are prepaid postage. So that's a great progress for the voter. We're also going to have, early voting. Obviously, we're open every day here at the Hall of Records for voters to come in and request a ballot if they hadn't received their first ballot in the mail. They can request it in person. They can email us the second ballot request form. They can fax it to us, and we'll mail them another ballot, or if they're here, hand them another ballot. We're also looking to go to the educational center at the South Mountain Recreation Complex and also the Prudential Center. And we're looking to do that evenings to allow for voters who can't make it during the day to the Hall of Records, but they can go to South Mountain Recreation Complex or the Prudential Center, maybe like 3 to 7 in the evening. We're still working out those details for the hours. We have until November 23rd to certify election results. As you know, the Electoral College is early December, so New Jersey's looking to certify results, by county clerks, November 23rd. So we're doing everything we can, and the legislature, the governor has done quite a bit since May 11th to, increase voter participation, also to speed up the counting in this pandemic, which is not an easy thing to do, but there's been a lot of progress made. So I'm not sure if I covered everything else, but I'm here for questions, and I'm available at all times for anyone, for the freeholders, for the public. So thank you for your time.
Through you, Mr. President, we have the final leg of the election departments, and that is Deputy Superintendent Patty Spango.
What happened? I don't know what happened. Can I talk? Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Can you take your phone off the speaker? Take your phone off the speaker.
Where's speaker? Where's speaker? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
That's better. Good afternoon, Freeholder President and the Freeholder Board. My name is Patty Spango. I'm the Deputy Superintendent of Elections. I would like to talk a little bit about what our office is doing. I would first, though, before I get into that, like to thank the Board of Chosen Freeholders for their support to allow us to purchase the new machines that we will be using. We are approximately right now planning on using about 150 of our new machines. Our office will transport the machines to the various polling locations. We are responsible for the inspection and the certification by the state of these voting machines, which is done prior to them being transported to the polling locations. My office also is responsible for the poll books that Linda Von Essie spoke about that will be printed for the voter to sign when they do return their vote by mail ballot. My office is working 7 days a week, processing voter registration overtime. The deadline to register to vote is October 13th. Our goal, as always, is to get as many people registered to vote so that no one is denied that right. Online voting started, I believe, Friday or Monday, where the public can go online and register to vote. It is updated every hour. The voter would just have to go to the Department of Elections website, access the module, and that is automatically sent over to us. We have additional staff that we've put on just to do that. We are also currently recruiting additional staff to help us with data input with the massive amount of voter registrations that have been coming into the office. We also have been working hand in hand with the clerk's office to any voter registrations, that information that gets updated for the vote by mail is daily sent to the county clerk's office so they can make sure that that voter does receive a vote by mail ballot. And we are also working with the county clerk's office, processing the federal forms that Chris Durkin mentioned before. Basically, that's it. I mean, unless there's any questions.
Through you, Mr. President, that is the end of the presentation. And if you'd like to take questions, I just want to also let you know that the governor is on, but he informed us that he has to be off this
No, I
call.
just pushed back. Thank you.
You can stay. All right.
Yes,
So,
thank you so much. Thank you.
okay. So, Mr.
President,
President,
I have a question.
Freeholder?
I have a question. I don't know who can answer, but I'd like to know, with the drop boxes, how often will the vote by mail ballots be secured from the drop boxes?
The ballots are picked up daily from every drop box,
Every single day, all the ballots
every
will be
single
picked up?
day. Yes.
And what time will they be picked up?
I haven't gotten the schedules out yet, but each municipality will be sent the schedule when it's firm, and they will know when they're being picked up
Oh, okay, and that will be every day. Thank you.
every day.
That's great. Thanks. But the box will stay open all night. It won't be sealed until the end of Election Day, correct?
It's sealed 8 p.m. on Election Day,
Okay, thank you.
and it will be opened. Well, it's going to be installed first, and it will be sealed until the ballots are in the mail. Once the ballots are in the mail, then the drop boxes will be unlocked and ready for voters to insert their ballots.
And once it's collected at night, it will be open to have more ballots dropped off during the
Yes.
night. Okay,
Yes.
thanks. Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Freeholder President, Freeholder Cooper, I have a quick question.
Sure.
I want to make sure that I heard correctly, that if a voter bring in their ballot with them on election day into the polling location, they need to sign the book and then drop it in the ballot box that you will have inside.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, thank you. Next question. You said that there's online voting, they could do online voter registration right now. Is it?
Yes, true.
I'll have to go through. You said if we go to the county's website and then go to your department, people will be able to get it?
No, they have to go to the Department of Elections website and access the module.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional questions? Quick question. Have you had any data or does it distinguish the Dropbox versus a postal return? Is it recorded anywhere,
yes.
whether the ballot was dropped in a Dropbox versus coming through the post office?
Yes, when the ballots are brought back from the drop box, they're stamped by which box they were brought back from and the date. And of course, the U.S. mail has a postage on their ballots.
Do we maintain that data? Do we
Yes.
keep that data?
I do
Do-
have
do
that
we have
data if
the-
you're interested.
Yeah, so do
From
we
the
have the
primer.
and if you don't have it, yeah, and if you have it, I'd love to see what what the numbers are, drop boxes versus post office.
I will have that ready for you, Freeholder President.
And hopefully, and hopefully with the increase in Dropbox locations, we'll see an increase in the use of the Dropboxes themselves.
I'm sure we will.
I don't have any additional questions. I just thank you, Linda. I want to thank you for working with my office on the recruitment of poll workers in that initiative. So thank you for everything that your office did on that front. To our, both to Patty and to Chris, thank you for all of your efforts. And Chris, thank you for the recognition on and helping assist Essex lead the way on the return postage, because once again we were ahead of the curve, and we should be proud of that fact. And that the state has held suit. So thank you for everything that you have done and that you're going to continue to do, and what it's going to be a unprecedented election and an unprecedented time. So thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Madam Clerk. Seeing that there's no questions, we can move. I know the governor's tight on time, but wanted to give him an opportunity, since our independent task force is up and running, to give a briefing to a quick briefing to the board on where they are and what's next, since we've received both questions from the board and from the public on the activity that's been taking place.
Thank you, Freeholder President. If I may.
Please.
Thank you. Thanks, Brendan. I may add that Durkin was born right, but he can't take credit for that. But I just would like to thank you, Freeholder President, and the members of the Freeholder Board in a special way for being so supportive. And just to give you an update and a briefing, that we've had a comprehensive orientation with the facility, virtual of sitting and having discussions with the medical staff, with the healthcare staff, understanding disciplinary proceedings. And so I think we've had a series of 2 days worth of orientation, literally 4 hours each day. In addition, that we've published the bylaws so that the entirety of the public knows what our bylaws are. So we've not only detailed what the orientation was, and we've posted that publicly, but we've also posted publicly the bylaws. In addition, we're focused on 3 specific hearings, and I just wanted to report to the President. We're focused on the first 3 hearings that will be held from October 3rd, Saturday from 10 to 12 on Bergen Street in Newark, and 2 other hearings have been posted. We will focus on healthcare at the Correctional Center, both healthcare services that applies to detainees and inmates. And the focus will be on trauma, healthcare, whether it applies to hepatitis, HIV, diabetes, as well as COVID. And we will also examine mental health, depression, and addiction. So what we'd like to examine is what the center is doing now in terms of healthcare policies, what are best practices nationally in terms of correction centers, and the distance between what we are doing now and what we ought to be doing. And in those areas where we are meeting expectations or excelling, to give credit, but also to understand there's always opportunities for improvement. And again, I just wanted to thank the medical staff and the team at the center, who have been incredibly cooperative and forthcoming and straightforward as to what they can do and what they can't do, given their budgetary realities. And so we've got a great panel that the Freeholder Board, that the Freeholders approved. I'd also like just to recognize Dr. Chris Purnell from University Hospital, added so much depth and breadth to these efforts. And on October 3rd, we're going to be blessed to have Dr. Erin Zerbo of Rutgers Medical School and a number of physicians talk and discuss what constitutes best practice. So again, I just like to thank the support of the president, the Freeholders, Chief of Staff Phil Elijah, all the administration. I think the orientation was sound, it was productive, really healthy give and take. And the bylaws have been posted. And I want to thank also Judge Linares for his dedication, his follow through, as well as Guillermo. But I think these first three hearings, which will be held in October, November, December of this year, will be important. And Freeholder President, I just wanted to share with you, the first will be Saturday, October 3rd, from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, at 936 Bergen Street in Newark. The second one will be Thursday, and that will be an evening on November 12th from 6 to 8 p.m. And the third one will revert again back to Saturday on December 5th from 10 to 12. And it's our goal. We wanted to have the first hearing in Newark, and we'll move the November 12th hearing and the December 5th hearing to locations throughout Essex County. And again, the focus will be on medical care, mental and behavioral health, clinical care, medication-assisted treatment, chronic conditions, health status. We will have testimony from the ECCF medical staff, as well as experts, detailing not only experience in the COVID-19 pandemic, but as well as general medical, mental health, and addiction protocols. So again, I just appreciate the opportunity for the Freeholder President to be able to bring this information to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Just on the bylaws that you have developed, those bylaws are or will be posted on, I just wanted to make sure, will be posted on a website, and can those, Madam Clerk, can we work to have a link on our page that links to the task force and those bylaws so they're available to the public?
Yes, Mr. President.
Thank you. And would it be possible, if I can, through the Freeholder President, to ask the clerk to also to post the hearing dates? I think that would be in the interest of transparency and to provide the broadest possible outreach if the Freeholder President was amenable to post that on his website as to the 3 hearing dates that will occur between now and year end.
Through you, Mr. President, I will do that.
Okay. Okay. Now we keep saying.
I just wanted to answer any questions, Mr. President, or any concerns, and then just encourage if anyone has any thoughts or criticisms or areas that they would like to see more fully developed or reviewed. Just welcome that opportunity.
Mr. President, I have a question. Governor, the task force, will those meetings be open to the public, and will there be will it be on the internet?
Great, thanks, Freeholder. So the hearings, the public hearings will be public. We did have an internal organizational meeting. I mean, bluntly, for the purposes of logistics and scheduling and focus. And that meeting was held online. But these next 3 meetings will be a combination of both in-person and online, and they will be open to the public. Pat, I assume that they can be transmitted online. I would just have to work with county IT to see how that would be done, because obviously we don't have any capacity ourselves. we would just rely upon the freeholder director and the chief of staff and the county administration. But it's certainly something that we would want.
Thank you. I think it would be great if people could watch. The coronavirus shouldn't be over by then, so people might want to just watch and not go.
The second the pandemic is over, I would assume they have something more productive to do than to watch, but yes.
Thanks, Governor.
But no, that's a great idea. And it's also a good idea also to have as a matter of record, not just
Right.
for, only for our sake, to be able to go back to questions and to go back to insights and just to chronicle people's thoughts. Because as the freeholder president was kind enough to, we had a meeting at Cedar Grove. Oh, Bren, what's the name of the community center there? But in any event, and you know, we had the same situation. We had a combination of Zoom and in person. But again, that was not tape, but that would have been advantageous just to have as a record. That's a great idea. I'll follow up with the chief of staff and the freeholder president's office.
Great, thanks. I think the more transparent it is, the better it is.
No, thank you.
Thanks for your great job, Governor.
No, thank you. And it just, if anybody, and freeholder Pat, if there's any areas or any place that you would like us to distribute or to publicize, we want that. So I had earlier conversations that I had with the freeholder president, reaching out to the community, and we're doing that. But obviously, any effort that the freeholders could employ in reaching out to the community and making sure that the people most impacted or affected have the opportunity to bring their concerns, that's also helpful. Because we're having these positions, whether it's Chris Purnell from University Hospital or Dr. Erin Zerbo, and we're inviting other doctors, Dr. Gloria Bachman, Dr. Budnick. And so just bluntly, these doctors are not going to be available all of the time. So to the extent that people have the opportunity to interact with these physicians, so much the better.
So, absolutely. So I totally agree, and I think it's a great suggestion, and we will collaborate to help promote both when these meetings are happening and for ways for people to participate. And then obviously, again, what continues to be important for me is the independent nature of your work. So we deeply appreciate the opportunity to give feedback, to hear from you on how you're going to lay out the goals of the committee, how the committee is going to function based on the way the ordinance is established, and what the follow up, from that, from that work, will be. So again, thanking you and everyone who's been working towards this. My hope again in this, I will. This may be more of a comment than a question, and please do not feel compelled, to respond now. But again, about 2 weeks ago, we had very serious public reports of some very serious allegations about activity in the facility, and which my office has, sent to you, and to the judge, and to the, for the committee. So, my hope is that those things will get looked at and reviewed, and be part of whatever process goes further, from here.
Thanks, Freeholder President. And as you know, both Judge Linares, for whom I can't be too grateful for all of his direction and insight, and I, have requested those reports, and we will follow up.
Thank you.
So again, if October 3rd, 936 Bergen Street in the great city of Newark, and it should be a really interesting panel focused in on primarily healthcare and medical care. So I just wanted to thank everyone.
Appreciate that, and probably should, I know we don't have to do it to January 1st, but it occurs to me that we probably should start breaking in our new titles, so to speak. So commissioners.
I know.
Do we have any additional questions or comments for the governor? Okay, hearing or seeing none. Governor, thank you, and we look forward to hearing from you in the future.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Take care.
Take care.
Thank you, my friend. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, Madam Clerk, let's move to the public comment session today. We have a combined conference board meeting, and we will vote on every item on the agenda. Since we're meeting remotely, the public had the opportunity to submit these questions and comments for consideration. At this portion of the meeting, the clerk will read the questions on agenda items only into the record at this time and state the names of the constituents. Madam Clerk.
Mr. President, I just want to restate the policy that has been when we had people in person. The public comment was allowed for up to 3 minutes, and we're going to make sure that we abide by that policy of 3 minutes. With that said, the comments that I'm reading will be timed. If not completed in 3 minutes, the whole email that we receive from the constituent will, as always, will be included in its entirety in our record. The first public comment was submitted by Whitney Strub of Newark, New Jersey, regarding Resolution 42. Dear Commissioners, I would like to comment on Agenda Item 42, a proposed resolution in support of Medicare for All. While I haven't had a chance to read the exact length, I'm strongly in support of Medicare for All and applaud any pressure you can exert on the Democratic Party to advance this policy. It is a national tragedy that we are saddled with the inept and reactionary candidacy of mediocre Joe Biden instead of Bernie Sanders, the only primary candidate who truly pushed for Medicare for All. And we need to rebuild this party from below with grassroots organizing. If you can contribute to that struggle, kudos to you. We cannot, however, build a better world on the backs of global working class. While I commend you for your advocacy of Medicare for All, this progressivism is in tension with your continued collaboration with ICE and the carceral state. You frequently claim your ICE jail is in the interest of the detainees, but if you meant this, you would allocate more than 2% of your revenue it generates towards the detainees' legal services. We see it for what it is, a cynical form of profiteering from the grotesque racist violence of Donald Trump and Barack Obama and Joe Biden before him. I belong to the North Jersey chapter of the Democratic Socialists of America. We have been a driving force for Medicare for All. I'd love for you to join the DSA wing of the Democratic Party alongside Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Rashida Tlaib, Cori Bush, and others. Is the only source of a better future that I can see in this nation. But to do so, you need to embrace an abolitionist politics, one that ends your lucrative contract with ICE and shuts down your abusive jail where people still die in 2020 and others are brutalized in a racist and homophobic way for simply talking to the press, such as Ernest Francisqua. It is not too late to do better. Moving forward, the cutoff for public comment to the 5 p.m. the day before your meeting is a clear effort to suppress participation even further. It's reactionary and you should be ashamed. Good work for supporting Medicare for All. Now do better on these other fronts. The next comment was submitted by Michael Giala. No address given regarding Resolution 36. Hello, I'm writing to the Board of Freeholders with my support for Resolution 36 on your agenda for the board meeting of 9/9. As an attorney with numerous clients struggling with drug and alcohol issues, I commend the board on recognizing and acting on the need for funding to assist individuals struggling with drug and alcohol dependence. Additionally, I am incredibly concerned with the board's inaction on the atrocious conditions to which ICE detainees are subjugated to while incarcerated at the Essex County facilities. The incident involving Jose Hernandez Velasquez is particularly disturbing, given that Essex County Prosecutor's Office declined to even file charges against officers stemming from allegations of sexual assault and other horrendous activities. No human being should be subject to state-sanctioned torture, regardless of the allegations against the individual. While the freeholders have acted with integrity in pursuing funds on behalf of those with drug and alcohol addiction issues, freeholders are complicit in accepting large sums of money from the federal government while turning a blind eye to human rights violations occurring within Essex County. I respectfully request that the board address the litany of documented complaints stemming from ICE incarceration of individuals within the Essex County jail system. The next comment is from Matt Dragon of West Orange on resolutions 37 and 42. Item 37, to approve the spending to purchase new firearms for the Department of Corrections. We as residents have been calling to defund the police and really the entire mass incarceration apparatus, reflecting a desire to shift that spending to proactively address the root cause of vast disparities in our society and county, investing in education, food security, social workers, healthcare, mental health, and drug treatment instead of buying more weapons, training more officers, and enforcing our existing laws, which were born out of racism. This particular contract is not for very much money, but I ask you to start thinking of each of these things within a larger context. On the street, outside your office, in the headquarters for much of the county government are the words "abolish white supremacy." Some of you could tell the stories, the deep personal wounds left by interactions with law enforcement, with banks, with the exposure of family members to the criminal justice system. I don't pretend to speak for you. So many residents of Newark who live under the control of a police force trying to reform, not voluntary, but rather under a federal consent decree. But we can't chip away at the edges. We need to be willing to commit to large-scale changes in our thinking and policies and where and why we allocate funds. George Floyd's daughter, providing the brave, unfiltered voice that comes naturally to a 6-year-old, looked out over the protests in response to her father's death in awe of his impact and said, "Daddy changed the world." This feels true. It feels different this time, but the changes that need to be made won't happen without our help, and more specifically, your help. Cheryl Lynn Eiffel, president of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, said, "What are you prepared to dismantle? What are you prepared to build?" I propose the question to the board. You are Essex County builders, not only at the county level, but in each municipality as you allocate resources to encourage each local government to move and build along with you. You have approved the money to build a new Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. building, which will include courtrooms where the jurors from Essex County will be charged with dispensing justice. What will that justice look like? What injustice will you commit to dismantling as part of that building process? On resolution 42, the text isn't posted online, but the summary seems to indicate you'll be voting on whether to support healthcare as a human right, specifically Medicare for all, and what that would be a test run for the future of healthcare under the current pandemic. I highly encourage you to support the resolution, and a reminder that the current population of the ECCF is a group that we are legally required to provide health care for. We should be looking at that Medicare in that environment, what it looks like and what co-pays can be waived or refunded for COVID-related treatment. I'm also excited to see the Civilian Task Force will be holding 3 public meetings specifically on medical care, and I encourage the public and the commissioners to attend. Thank you for your support of the prior resolution calling for an end to private prisons in New Jersey, Incarceration is one of the government's most solemn responsibilities. When we choose to put someone in jail or in prison, we are agreeing as a society to be responsible for every aspect of their lives. That includes ensuring fair, humane treatment for all inmates, which can only be achieved through an open and transparent system. Private prisons advocate that responsibility by turning incarceration into a for-profit exercise with limited to no transparency. However, it is not just private prisons. I recently asked via email for the COVID antibody testing policy for ECCF and was told by the county executive chief of staff that it was covered by HIPAA. I asked for the legal justification under a policy for a facility was being withheld from the public under a law that primarily directs the handling of individual health records, and was told by that my question had been answered. I got no further responses. So I'm forced to ask here, requesting the formal response. One, what is the COVID antibody testing policy for the ECCF? Two, are the inmates and detainees tested only upon arrival at the facility, or is there regularly scheduled ongoing testing during their time there? Three, is there any follow-up testing if the original test indicates active or recent infections? Four, is there any follow-up on testing of the original test indicates no antibodies of any kind? And the time is up, but there are two more questions, so I will read those and stop at that point. If that policy is different for prisoners of ICE and U.S. Marshals, state or county, what are those differences? And finally, if it is still being maintained that the ECCF policies are subject to HIPAA, please provide the legal justification behind that stance. The rest of your email will be submitted in the record in full. Okay. The next question, can we start the clock? Sally Jane Gellert of Woodcliff Lakes regarding resolutions 37 and 42. It is disturbing that you have shortened the period for public comment, moving the deadline earlier to the day before the meeting, and apparently with little advance notice. I'm supporting agenda item 42 in support of universal health care. So critically important, perhaps even more than ever in this time of public health crises and vast unemployment. I worry about the item resolution 37, purchasing new firearms for the Department of Corrections at a time when the public has been calling for an end to the ICE contract and defunding police agencies to move the county funds to the social service and mental health agencies. What are you doing to move the county government away from punitive systems and relying on funds from imprisoning people to being a supportive and protective resource for all residents? Let's start. Okay, the next comment is from Elijah Stevens. No address given regarding resolution 37 and 42. Hello, I'm writing to submit public comment for your meeting tomorrow, 9/9, on a few items. First, I would like to provide comment on item 37. I'm deeply concerned about Essex County freeholders supporting the purchase of tens of thousands of dollars of $10,000 of semi-automatic firearms, particularly at a time when people throughout Essex County, New Jersey, and the country are calling for the defunding and disarming of law enforcement and the incarceration system. This also comes at a time when COVID-19 has threatened people's lives in an Essex County jail. And as many has called for the end of immigrant detention and the contract with ICE at the facility. There have been a clear disregard for public safety and health at the Essex County Jail, while the county continues to profit from immigrant detention, which is only made worse by the prioritization of spending tens of thousands of dollars on lethal firearms instead of social services, mental health services for the Essex County community, including those both inside and outside of detention. Second, I would like to provide a comment on agenda item 42. I support this resolution and efforts towards universal health care and would like to remind the freeholders that universal health care includes coverage for people in jails, prisons, and ICE detention. The coronavirus pandemic has revealed that people's health and safety cannot be guaranteed in jail, including at the Essex County Jail, where the coronavirus spread rapidly because of the inability for people to socially distance and because ICE detainees have been transferred in and out of the facility. If the freeholders want to guarantee the safety and the health of everyone in the Essex County community, you must cut the contract with ICE and immediately stop ICE transfers to and from the facility, as well as work to ensure the health of all people held by the DOC. That's the end of that comment. The next comment is from Yael Weber of Montclair on Resolution 42. Dear County Commissioners, first I must point out that your continued attempts to suppress the public engagement in our supposed democracy are shameful. For what legitimate purposes have you restricted the submission of public comments to the day before the meeting? I would like to comment in support of Medicare for all. Healthcare is a human right. The people incarcerated in ECCF are beings, and you have a moral, ethical, and legal obligation to provide appropriate care to every single person in that facility. Yet it is rife with horrific abuses. What sort of investigation did you conduct for the awful case of Farouk Karimu? And what about Hernandez Velasquez? Why do you still use solitary confinement under the euphemistic names in your much touted civilian task force? And is your much touted civilian task force ever going to do anything? It just sat through a pandemic for shame. In the abuses, in the contract, it is time to free them all. Okay. And the final statement for this segment, I'm waiting for the time to be set to 3 minutes. This is from Jeffrey Fell Esquire. This is, Dear Essex County Board of Chosen Freeholders, I respectfully request that the receipt of this letter be included in the September 9th, 2020 virtual meeting agenda, public comments, official public record. I also respectfully request that the receipt of this letter be included in the September 9th, 2020 virtual meeting, non-agenda new business public comments, official record. This letter incorporates and supplements all my earlier letters to the freeholders, including my last July 8th, 2020 and August 3rd, 2020 letters that I received no written response. Yesterday, on the Labor Day national holiday, when most individuals were not paying close attention, a public notice appeared in the Star Ledger changing the submission time for written comments and questions to 5 p.m. the day prior to the meeting at public comments at Freeholders, Essex County, NJ.org. I'm no stranger to you. This is a very fluid situation. I do not believe in coincidence. For more than 13 years, I've been a zealous defender of our individual liberties and constitutional form of representative democracy. I have defended our robust marketplace of competing ideas. I've advocated enhanced local transparency, accountability, and adherence to the rule of law. I've questioned this governmental entity's recent efforts to omit my letters from the official public record and to suppress my political free speech. During the current COVID-19 pandemic, I have questioned efforts to suppress virtual oral civic participation. I've questioned the unintentional adverse voter suppression consequences of involuntary vote by mail in certain majority communities. For more than 10 years, I've been urging the county to examine the validity of certain long-term tax exemptions granted by the city of Newark, the city of East Orange, and the city of Orange Township. Since the issuance of certain national accounting long-term tax exemption disclosures rules in 2016, I have been urging the county legislative governing body to exercise its legislative oversight powers and duties and to investigate whether the county's annual audit provided adequate disclosures about the number of long-term exemptions within the county, the adverse loss of tax revenues to the county, and the amount of long-term tax exemption revenues due and owing the county. And the rest of this letter is extremely long, and our 3 minutes are up. This letter will be completed and will be inserted in its entirety to our records for this meeting. And all, through you, Mr. President, all questions will be answered in writing.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, please ensure that all information, where appropriate, is relayed to the administration for proper response. Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinances or resolutions for introduction and first reading?
Mr. President, we have one.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please read ordinance number 1 into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson, can you please explain the ordinance?
You're on mute.
Can't hear him.
Mr. Jackson, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Apologies. This is an ordinance for the Essex County College for some much needed technology infrastructure improvements. There's a list in the package of the improvements that are required, and the need for them has grown exponentially as a whole. The need for remote learning and given the impact of COVID. And it ranges from facilities maintenance equipment to replacing some of the older audio-visual equipment, certain servers and network storage, administrative printers and high-end scanners, and ID card printers and peripherals. So it's a range of things, again, that you see in the package, and it's for $1 million.
Okay, Mr. Polavecchio.
These are county bonds, so we'll be going directly through the county, not like some other ones we've had recently that go through PCIA, but this is just first reading, so this will be back at our next meeting.
Correct.
Okay. Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Okay, commissioners, any questions or comments? Okay, commissioners, I have a motion from Commissioner Graham and a second from Commissioner Johnson to introduce ordinance number 1. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Cooper,
Yes.
Commissioner Graham,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercado,
Yes.
Commissioner Pomares,
Yes.
Commissioner Vice President Richardson,
Yes.
Commissioner Siebel,
Yes.
Commissioner President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinances or resolutions for listing purposes only?
Mr. President, we have none.
Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinance resolutions on second reading and public hearing tonight?
Yes, Mr. President, ordinance number 2020-00.
The record at a later time. I hereby declare that the public hearing on ordinance 2020-00012 open. Any member of the public who had emailed comments for or against this ordinance, we will read the comments into the record and respond to you in writing. Let the record reflect that no comments were received. Mr. McInerney, do you have any questions?
I do not have any questions on this. This is on second reading, Mr. President. We covered
Okay.
this a month ago.
Mr. Parlavecchio, any questions?
No additional comments.
Commissioners, questions or comments? Okay, Commissioners, I have a motion from Freeholder Johnson and a motion from Commissioner Luciano to close the public hearing on the ordinance O 2020-00012. Do I have the same mover in a second to approve the ordinance?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Siebel,
Yes.
Commissioner Vice President Richardson,
Yes.
Commissioner Pomares,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercado,
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Graham,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper,
Yes.
Commissioner President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay. Very good. Okay, Madam Clerk, let's move to resolutions number 1 through 11, which are all from the Department of Public Works. To read them into the record, their time. Mr. Jackson, let's go through 1 through 11.
Certainly, Mr. President, County Mayor Varghese is here again. So items 1 through 11.
Hi, this is Sanjeev Varghese, County Engineer. Resolution number 1 is to purchase a flatbed printer for our sign shop. This was publicly advertised. This is a brand new printer which uses the UV technology. It prints directly to the material. Right now we just print on a film and tape it on the material. And it was only one bid, and the single bidder is $51,935.55. That's item resolution number 1. Resolution number 2 is a non-open and fair contract with Bobcat to repair our Bobcat machines. We have several Bobcat machines in our fleet and equipment, which we need services throughout the year. Only Bobcat can fix those machines. It's their proprietary repairs, and we are requesting for a non-fair and non-open contract with Bobcat for a total amount not to exceed $45,000. This will be used as needed basis. Resolution number 3 is with Pisano Giordano. This is to improve the Watching Park ADA playground we already built and we opened up last year. And there were few requests for additional ADA equipment inside the playground and few additional accommodation inside the building for the bathrooms. This was again publicly bid, and the lowest bidder is the original contractor who did that playground. And this money is coming from the same grant. This was all funded by a state special appropriation grant. And I have the vendor online later if you have any questions. Item 4 is this is to apply for a grant application for the 3 bridges we have on Passaic River. There are 3 movable bridges we have. One is Jackson Street, Bridge Street, Clay Street. We had some funds already allocated before for another project, so we are moving the money back to this project. This is just housekeeping, which they need a resolution from us applying for this grant, the NJDOT. Resolution 5. Again, this is housekeeping. This is to extend a grant application we have for Dougal Place Bridge. We have the money in place, but the money expires within a couple of months, and we want an extension of the grant so that the project is going out for bid next year, actually end of this year, and construction will go into next year. This is to just extend the grant, which we already have in place. Item 6 is similar to item 5. There's an extension of grant, which we already have in place for various SS structures. Resolution 7. We have a grant for $400,000 from NJDOT. Again, this is a discretionary grant from the commissioner. This is to fix a bridge in West Orange, Lakeside Avenue, which developed a hole in the bridge. We have plated the bridge and we temporarily repaired it, but that needs a full replacement. That is expected to happen early next year. The design is almost done and we are going out for bid. Resolution 8. This is a contract with Colonelli Brothers for various drainage structure improvements. This is for repair of manholes, catch basins, any drainage structure we have under the road. They are the lowest bidder. He is on the line. If you have any questions with this vendor.
I do. I don't know if you want me to finish, Mr. President?
No, let me go through this and I'll come back.
We'll take them. We'll take them all at the end. So let them finish. Thank you.
Resolution number 10. When I did it. In resolution number 9 is again the state NJDOT inspect all our bridges and culverts. We have approximately 450 bridges and culverts. The state hires the consultants and inspects our bridge, and they come up with all the repairs we needed to do so that there is no deficiency with the bridges. And they send it to us. We have to have somebody on board to do this. It's called priority repairs. And this is, again, it's a public bid. Colonelli Brothers is the lowest bidder. He's available on the phone for any questions. Resolution 10. Insertion of revenue for the item we had before for the DOT for Lakeside. Hold on, that's not the one. Lakeside Avenue Bridge in West Orange. That's the one we talked about before. Resolution 11. Budget insertion for this is the ATP Annual Transportation Trust Fund money we give every year. We get every year from the DOT. This is for next year. We develop. This is just for the budget insertion. We come back to the board with the agreement with the list of projects later this year. So this is just the budget insertion. This is the annual funding we get every year. So the project for this project mostly is resurfacing project. We'll come back with a list of projects for your approval later. That's all.
Okay. Thank you, Sanjeev. Mr. Parlavecchio, any questions on 1 through 11?
No, I don't have any.
Mr. McInerney.
Yes, on resolution number 8, last meeting, we, or at the leadership meeting, we took a look at this, and as a result of it being such a disparity between the other bidders and this bid, I just, in due diligence, not specifically this contract, but when I see that among other bids, I always like to take a look and see why there's such a great, disparity. So I did get the administration to provide me with some information from the contract, and we had some issues talking about the fact that the bid items that are included, there's a number of items in this bid that the bidders had to itemize. So what is the cost associated, unit price associated with, let's say, an inlet manhole repair minor? And then there's about 8 others on top here. And so what struck me as unique is that in some respects here, we're seeing a lot of these items, maybe 5 of these items with $1 next to them. And where the other bidders had considerable amounts of money associated with the cost and I guess their profit associated with those individual items. So one of the key issues I had was to determine if I could, and I did get something quickly back from the administration this morning, as to the number of units in the bid specifications. The approximate units that'll be worked on or were bid on are listed. And I wanted to know whether or not in the prior year we had those numbers were close to what was put into the bid. So in 2019, the information that I have, in let's say item number 1, showed that there was going to be 170 units that were bid on, but it looks like only 30 was the amount that was actually performed in 2019. And I'd asked the county engineer, great disparity sometimes between what you put in the bid specifications in terms of unit quantity with what's actually performed?
This is Sanjeev Varghese, the county engineer. Again, these are all estimates. We don't expect, we anticipate this is the number we are going to use. And when we, for example, when we open up a manhole, and there are 3 different types of repairs there. When we open up the first layer of the manhole, it's a minor repair. But if it doesn't hold it, go to the next section, which is a moderate, that's the major repair. Again, this is all estimated quantities. We cannot figure out exactly how many will end up, but those are our best guess numbers.
Right. Well, I noticed item number 1, it went from 170 to 200. So I would assume you expect more this year in item number 1 than you did last year.
Yes.
Okay.
And I have the vendor online. If you have any specific questions to him, he can jump in.
Let me just I'm trying to understand this a little better. So now that I ask an appropriate question here. So if there's an increase from 170 units to 200 units, in that particular case, the winning vendor bid $1 on each one of those units. So he is saying he's willing to if those units have to be done, 200 of those units have to be done, you're saying he will bill the county $200.
That's correct. He only bills us the amount on the bid.
Okay. So the next issue I have is there's kind of a disparity to last year on items 2 and 3. The winning bidder.
Excuse me, through you, Mr. President. You have to be mindful if you're rattling papers, keep it away from the microphone because it distorts the sound. Okay.
In items 2 and 3, last year, the vendor billed $2,000 for item 2 and $1,500 for item 3. This year, the vendor for item 2 is billing $250, down from $2,000, and on item number 3, $500, down from $1,500. The $2,000 for unit 2 and item 2 and $1,500 for item 3 is very, very much in line with the other bidders for the 2020 contract. So my question, I guess, to the bidder is, why is there such a reduction in your unit pricing on items 2 and 3. That's the inlet manhole repair moderate and the inlet manhole repair major. It's a significant drop from last year and what you assumed your charge would be.
If I have Lino Colonelli, the owner on the line here. He will be able to explain this. Nino, if you can speak up.
Hello.
How you doing, Freeholder Chairman and Freeholders? Thank you. This is, Nino's on the line with me. I'm Hank Dobalor. Again, this is a project that the firm has had for off and on for the last 3 cycles. We've had the drainage repairs and we've had the bridge and culvert repairs. Keep in mind that the contractor develops historical data. Our bid is based on our experiences and obviously the labor force we have. And usually the labor force will be 3 to 4 men, could be a labor foreman, 3 laborers, it could be a labor foreman, 2 operators. It depends on the work encountered. But to answer the Freeholders' question, it is basically our costs and our bid is developed from historical data. And again, we've had, probably in the last 8 years, we've had the drainage contract for 6 years, and we've had the bridge contract for probably 6 years also. I hope that gives you some idea. You know, it's basically developed from what we have done in the past.
I mean, does that give you some idea of what the potential work is required for in the 2020 year? Do you have a better understanding of that? What has to be done in 2020? So in terms of quantity, rather than thinking there's 200 that have to be done, there's a lesser amount. Are you aware that there's a lesser amount that has to be done?
Yes, we would, in some of these cases, we're gambling a little bit. But you know, 6 years of data is going to give us a reasonable idea of what is going to have to be performed.
So when you looked at 200 for item number 1, is it fair to assume that your experience having this contract for an extended period of time and doing work on item number 1, you had kind of knowledge that 200 would not be done, and there would be a less.
Again, the answer is yes, but with a maybe on it. That's what has been shown. That's what we feel probably will be the case. If it isn't, we've gambled here and a little bit, and we really don't know until you get into the nitty-gritty of the work. But that's what's happened over that last period of time, over the 3 contracts that we've had, or 3 contract cycles.
Right. And
Mr. President, if I may, I just want to interrupt, if I may, just to be clear. This is on an as-needed basis. This is not something that we are contracting out to say we need these 20 minors done or these 20 majors. This is all done by as a need. As something collapses, it lets collapse and has to be repaired. It's done. So I just want to be clear that there's no suggestion here that somehow that the vendor has some knowledge of some repairs that should be done. When we call him to do the repairs, he comes out and does the repairs. This is not something where we've identified an agenda or a list of things that need to be done. This is totally on an as-needed basis. And from an overall point of view, again, as the gentleman noted, they've been our vendor for 3 years, and Ken Deep can talk to this better than I. But certainly, we have had we've had a great experience with this contractor. There have been a number of these last year. I think 88 $1 repairs that were done. We were charged the $1 that we were supposed to be charged on it. And there's been no change orders that this contractor has come as a result of this. So I just want to be clear that, this is on an as-needed basis. Knowledge is, the only way you know what's gonna happen next year is if you have a special, a special connection with God or something, and you could tell you what's gonna collapse. That's the only way, anybody would have a foreknowledge of what was gonna occur. Just want to put that on the record to clarify that.
But in all fairness, I just asked the question and he responded, and his response was that because of his period of time having this contract, he does have some, with a maybe, he does have some knowledge as to what units will be required. And that's the answer I got. So I mean, I understand.
Of course, if you have an incumbent, Frank, if you have an incumbent who's doing the work, just like anybody here, just like you're the incumbent for the position here, you have some experience that somebody else has that somebody else doesn't have. So you obviously take advantage of that. But it's not to say that the person has some sort of special foreknowledge that other than to say, yeah, I've been doing this. Also, too, all the other vendors could also could either ask the Department of Public Works or do by open public meetings, find out how many repairs were actually done. This is not a secret. This can all be achieved as part of the bidding process. So I just want to be careful. There's a little bit of innuendo here that somehow that they have some, either through DPW or something like that, some other special knowledge. It is basically doing the work.
Listen, I'm not saying, I'm just asked a question. So, and when you see the disparity, and it gives me reason for thought. I thought what I asked, not making any innuendos here at all. At the end of the day, I just asked the question and so we'll leave it at that.
Through you, Mr. President, please mute your mics if you're not speaking. Mute your mics.
I'm sorry, Mr. McInerney. Madam Clerk, we have a series of people on the line who are not on mute. Caller 8, caller 16, caller 23, caller 24, caller 19. Anybody who's on the line, please mute your phone.
So that and then if there's any understanding of that, then you do drop your price from 2,000 to 250, from 1,500 to 500. Yes, you're taking a chance. I'm not saying that all of a sudden maybe all 200 has to be done, and guess what? You're not going to make any money on the contract. So I understand that, but I when I saw the disparities here, I had to look at this and I asked the question and the question was answered. So you can take it for what it's worth. But, I think I'm pretty much done, but I'd leave it up to the freeholders if they have any other questions, Mr. President.
Mr. President, may I just add something to the county administrator's point?
Sure.
Courtney Gassion, Essex County Council. So just to kind of address the 2 points that have been addressed thus far. The type of bid that was submitted by Colonelli Brothers is commonly referred to as an unbalanced bid or a penny bid. Under local public contracts law, that is not per se in violation of the statute. Unless there is specific language that prohibits that in a bid spec, that is not impermissible, and it is not an automatic reason for rejection by the contracting agency, which in this case is the county, of a bid. So this is an issue that was raised several weeks ago. It was reviewed by my office. We feel that legally we are on very sound footing to accept the bid based on the parameters under local public contracts law. Secondarily, the second issue was raised about any additional information or the basis by which Colonelli was able to arrive at the numbers they did for their per unit prices. And as Mr. Jackson said, there is nothing that presents an unfair advantage to Colonelli Brothers by having the experience over the last 3 years that allows them to price this contract in a way which allows them to submit the lowest possible bid in order to be awarded the contract. That's the whole premise of a low bidder contract under bidding of local public contracts law. And any vendor, as Mr. Jackson pointed out, is going to have inherent knowledge as to how the contract gets performed or could get performed just by virtue of having the experience. And there was nothing that prohibited any other vendor who was interested in bidding on this project from asking for the information that Mr. McInerney has as to what actually was expended over the last several years on this particular contract, either through the bidding process or through an OPA request. So it is, again, this office's position that there is no unfair advantage that has been given to Culinary Brothers by virtue of the fact that they gathered the data that they've accumulated over the last 3 years in order to support the lowest responsive and responsible bid.
Through you, Mr. President, in all due respect, I didn't hear Frank McInerney accuse anybody of anything underhanded, and I reject that that type of language, saying that implying that he may have in some kind of way. I didn't hear him do any of that. I heard him ask a question of the vendor. The vendor answered the question, and then you guys went into all of this other stuff. That nobody's implying that there was any unfair advantage. It was just a simple question that was asked. I mean, when you guys do that, then you give credence to the possibility that there may be. But no one accused, I didn't hear Frank McInerney accuse anybody of anything. He just asked a simple question, and the vendor answered the question. So I don't get it.
Well, if I could just,
Freeholder President.
I'd like to respond as well, Mr. President, but I'll allow Mr. Jackson to respond first.
Yeah, I do believe that it's just important to make it clear when we're talking about advantage and so forth, it's clear about what that means. And if you think that we're sensitive about our integrity, we absolutely are. And if that's a problem, I'm sorry, but we're very, very sensitive about making sure that people understand that the processes that we go through are done by the book and with the highest level of integrity. And if we have a little bit of extra sensitivity about that, I can't apologize for it.
Nobody, through you, Mr. President, no one's asking you to apologize for anything. But if there's a question asked of the vendor, you can't change the vendor's answer. The vendor answered the question. And the question is, the answer is the answer. He said yes, he has knowledge, empirical data, based on the fact that he's had the contract for a number of years. So yeah, there are things that he knows. So you can't change that. Those are facts.
I was not freeholder. I was not attempting to change it. I was attempting to clarify with that answer, so that answer was not misconstrued.
Freeholder President,
I'm sorry, could I just respond? I'm sorry, Freeholder, just because I did want to respond to Freeholder Vice President Richardson. So I don't believe that I made any assertion that there was an accusation or that anything underhanded was being alleged. I was simply stating that the law, as it currently stands in the state of New Jersey, to support the county's award of this bid to the lowest bidder. Mr. McInerney did say several times that the per unit cost quoted by the vendor gave him pause. So in my mind, there was a question raised. I think it's a valid question. I think it's a legitimate question. And we are only trying to provide the supportive information both through the vendor and through the current state of local public contracts law to support why the bid was chosen and not rejected. Not that anybody suggested it should have been rejected. I'm only indicating to you that under the current state of the law, there is no obligation to reject a bid solely because it has penny bids included in it. So there was no intention there to assert that anybody was accusing anybody of doing anything underhanded. I apologize, Freeholder.
Well, I want to thank Mr. McInerney for asking the questions that he did, because it clarified some of the questions that I had when I read the resolution with the responses that was attached to it. In my experience, typically when those numbers are that big of a spread, you do reject them, thinking that maybe the lowest bidder was way off and missed some of the information that was contained in the bid specs. But having gotten the information and the historical responses that the vendor who is the winning bidder that you guys selected had historical knowledge because he had performed the prior work for a number of years, helped to give me a measure of comfort why his numbers were so much lower, because now he knows potentially how much it's going to cost. The other thing would be helpful is, I know Administrator Jackson just talked about it. This would be performed on an as-needed basis. When I read through this, I didn't, maybe I missed it, that I didn't see the as-needed basis. So, Mr. McInerney, I appreciate you for asking those questions, because it certainly clarified some questions and concerns that I had when I read this package. And I don't think that you inferred anything that it was this person, the winning bidder, had an upper hand on the other bidders. No, he just had the benefit of winning the prior bids, so therefore he knew better than the other vendors what the potential costs would be.
Okay. Mr. McInerney, any further questions?
No, Mr. President.
Okay. Commissioners, any further questions? 1 through 11.
I do have another question for item 3. What's the timeline for item 3?
This is Sanjeev Varghese, County Engineer. That should go immediately upon approval, probably in a week.
And then how long will it take to be completed?
120 days.
Maybe 2 months, 60 days.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Any further questions on resolutions 1 through 11? Okay, I have a motion from Freeholder Luciano and a second from from Commissioner Mercado to take 1 through 11 as one. If we're pulling out individual votes, please just make that clear for the clerk. Thank you. So roll call, Madam Clerk, resolutions 1 through 11.
Freeholder Cooper,
Yes.
Freeholder Graham,
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson,
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano, absent Freeholder Mercado,
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares,
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson,
Yes.
Freeholder Sebo,
Yes.
Freeholder Commissioner Gill. Commissioner President, I'm trying to get used to the new names.
Yes.
The new name isn't until January.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolutions number 12 through 23. We'll read it into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, Josh Sates is here. He'll handle items 12 through 15. Then also number 16 with the help from Sanjeev, and then he'll handle items 17 through 23. So, Mr. Zates.
And again, we will take 12 through 23 all at once, so please let the testimony go forward. Freeholders, reserve your questions, or commissioners, reserve your questions to the end. Thank you.
Yeah. Josh, are you there? Are you on mute, Josh?
Administrator Jackson, I will have a technical check.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. President and Mr. Administrator Jackson, I believe he might be available.
Joshua Zay, Essex County Parks. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thanks, Josh.
Okay. Okay. Item number 12 is an item of revenue for the department. It is a 24-month option with Great Saves goaltending. This is for goalie instruction that is taught at a Cody Arena. Number 13 is a contract award to Aegis Security for security services over at the Turtleback Zoo. 3 bids were received, 1 was rejected. Aegis was the lowest responsive bidder. It's an hourly rate of $16.97 per hour and is estimated about 5,460 hours per year. This includes all the zoo grounds, buildings, attractions, maintenance areas, and entrances. Number 14 is an award to Clark Moynihan Landscaping for landscape maintenance over at Riverfront Park. As you can see, this is a 8-month contract. The reason for that is we're going to anticipate this contract ending with a number of our other maintenance contracts, and then we will bring that contract into the fold with some other maintenance contracts so that we bid it out in zones and hopefully get the best price. Number 15 is authorization to use the Recreation Open Space Trust Fund for the Turtleback Zoo Otter exhibit, an amount not to exceed $640,088. This is a 50% contract amount for the project, and number 16 relates back to that, and the number 16 is for the contract award. The contract includes the renovation, the interior of the Otter Habitat building, new interior finish, installation new entry door, repaint the existing rock theme, install larger pools and streams, laminated glass, walkways, as well as some other additional items. Number 17 is the authorization to use the Recreation Open Space Trust Fund for the $70,000 for the Rutgers Cooperative Extension Program. Number 18 is the actual agreement with Rutgers for these services, and it's a variety of services for the county residents and the area of agriculture, natural resources. There's also a horticultural-based veterans training program. Number 19 is a contract award to Antech Diagnostics for laboratory services for the zoo animals. This would be to collect blood samples for the various animal inventory and then report on the results. Number 20 is an amendment to redistribute funds to the subgrantees for the 2020 Local Arts Program. Due to COVID, a number of our local arts recipients are not able to use the funds this year, so we are reallocating those funds to the organizations that can use it. 21 is a budget insertion of additional $9,400 for the local arts program, and then number 22 is to award the $9,400 to the various local arts recipients. And number 23 is an emergency declaration for $499,679 due to Tropical Storm Isaiah. Happy to answer any questions the freeholders may, the commissioners may have, and we do have some of the vendors online.
Freeholder President, may I add some statements?
Please. Yep.
All right, number 20, number 15. On August 12th, the Open Space Trust Fund had a meeting and reviewed number 15 for the Otter exhibit, and we were in full agreement that this was a wonderful program that was going to be provided. Also, and that includes number 16 also. At the same meeting, we discussed 17 and 18, and that has to do with our alignment with the Rutgers Cooperative Extension Program, and Jan Zentik runs that program for the county, and he does a wonderful job. And I see him all the time because he's a representative on the Open Space Trust Fund Advisory Board, and he does terrific work. So I'm glad that this is included. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio.
Yeah, I do have a question, Mr. President. Mr. Zates, on number 13, that's the Aegis Security Agency. Have we been providing security services at the zoo this way through a private vendor, or has that been done before?
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Through you, Mr. President, that is correct. We have had a very similar contract in the past.
Okay. All right. I didn't know if this was something previously done by the sheriff's office and then we were converting or not, but that's why I asked. Thank you.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Okay. Commissioners?
I have a question for item number 23. The various vendors that were selected to assist you with addressing the issues with the downed trees, were those vendors that you previously did business with, or you just called them up on the fly to help you?
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Through you, Mr. President, these are vendors we've had existing relationships who've done previous services for us.
So the rates that they charge, were they previously established, or you get the bill after the work is performed?
So if it's a contract that we currently have with the vendor, it would be the rates that are part of that contract. If it was a vendor that's out of contract, then I won't be able to tell you if the rates were comparable to the contract or not.
Yeah, I was just curious when I was looking at the spread of the numbers that one vendor was so much more than the other vendors. So I was just curious if these were people that we previously done business with, if you had current contracts, et cetera. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Any further questions? Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Mercado and seconded by Commissioner Pomeroy to take resolutions 12 through 23 as one. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Siebel,
Yes.
Commissioner Vice President Richardson,
Yes.
Commissioner Pomares,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercado,
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano, absent Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Graham,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper,
Yes.
Commissioner President Gill.
Yes,
So moved.
thank you. Okay, let's move to resolution number 24, which is from the Division of Community Action. We can read it into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson?
Mr. President, this is a program, a budget insertion of $292,000, $258. It's to support a tenant-based program to provide affordable housing for homeless youth, defined as ages 18 through 24. And it's particularly targeted to disabled homeless youth who have aged out of foster care system in the past 5 years. This is HUD-approved contracts with the Reformed Church of Highland Park and Covenant House. Of that amount, $23,381 goes toward administrative cost.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio?
No questions.
Mr. Jackson? Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, Mr. McInerney. Mr. McInerney, any questions on 24?
No questions.
Okay. Commissioners, questions on 24? Okay, hearing and seeing none, I have a motion from Commissioner Pomeroy and a second from Commissioner Vice President Richardson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Cooper,
Yes.
Commissioner Graham,
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano. I have indication that he can hear us, Mr. President, Commissioner Luciano, but we can't hear him. And he's voting affirmative.
His vote has to be on the record, Ms.
Okay. All right, so we'll have to work on that technical issue. Commissioner Mercado,
Yes.
Commissioner Pomares,
Yes.
Commissioner Vice President Richardson,
Yes.
Commissioner Siebel,
Yes.
Commissioner President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, moving to,
They forgot Freeholder Johnson.
I'm sorry. I don't know how I could forget you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
so moved.
okay, let's move to resolution number 25. We can read it into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, Director Maurice Brown is here to address this item.
Yes, good afternoon, Commissioners. This is just an insertion into the budget of the second half of the area plan revenue that we received from the state. This will cover the 18 agencies that we have that we're currently working with, and home delivered meals, supportive services, caregiver, nutrition, etc. And that's all this is our second half of the grant.
Thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio.
No question.
Mr. McInerney.
No questions.
Commissioners. Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Vice President Richardson and a second from Commissioner Siebel. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Cooper,
Yes.
Commissioner Graham,
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercado,
Yes.
Commissioner Pomares,
Yes.
Commissioner Vice President Richardson,
Yes.
Commissioner Siebel,
Yes.
and Commissioner President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you.
Okay, moving to resolutions number 26 through 28, which can read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Well, Mr. President, Director Julius Mumford is here to walk through items 26 through 28.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
we can.
All
We can
right.
hear you, Director.
Thank you. Items 26 and 27. These are budget insertions from the New Jersey Department of Labor. As you know, with COVID-19 going on, they have allowed vocational schools to provide training programs virtually to anyone that's interested. These funds will be used, as we have done in the past, for Workforce Innovation Opportunity Acts for those individuals who have been dislocated from their job before COVID and during COVID. It's to provide those services for the age bracket between 16 to 24 for the youth, and anyone 16 and above for adults. The Learning Link is where we're going to have an issue. The Learning Link currently operate two Learning Links, one here at 50 South Clinton in East Orange and one inside the Bloomfield Library in Bloomfield. The funds have been reduced, and the Bloomfield Library is an underperforming Learning Link. Therefore, with $25,000, we can no longer afford to pay the lease at the Bloomfield Learning Link, and also with the state, because we will be closing that one when our lease is terminated. So the funds that we will have, we will continue to operate our Learning Link, which is for basic skills development here at 50 South Clinton Street. Any questions?
Okay, Mr. Parlavecchio.
No question.
Mr. McInerney.
No questions.
Board. Mr. President, I have the freeholder or Commissioner Primara, whatever you want to call me today. So my question would just be, you had mentioned that the Bloomfield site was underperforming. Can you just give some very high-level thoughts as to what contributed to those factors?
Yes, Commissioner, through Commissioner Gill, the state has certain performance measurements that we have to meet. Number one, our attendance at the Bloomfield Learning Link is very low. We're only averaging about 5 for a capacity of 25. Two, the students there are not progressing as they should under our state performance measures. So when you're underperforming, you got two choices. One, you either perform better, or two, you look at ways to increase just minimizing your services. Our East Orange office is performing very well. So before they cut our funds drastically, because we currently pay $12,000 a year to for the lease at the Bloomfield Library, and we've only received $25,000 this current year. So outside of underperforming and not receiving the same funds as we have in the past, that's one of the major reasons. There's several performance measures that we have to meet. I will gladly get those performance measures through Administrator Jackson so you can review them and see them.
Thank you, Director. I appreciate that. Okay, seeing no further questions, I have a motion from Commissioner Siebold and a second from Commissioner Cooper to take 26 through 28 as one. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Siebold,
Yes.
Commissioner Vice President Richardson,
Yes.
Commissioner Pomares,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercado,
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Graham,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper,
Yes.
Commissioner President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, taking resolutions number 29 through 36, which we can read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, Director Eileen Fishman is here to address these items.
Good evening, Mr. President and Commissioners. These are insertions into the budget for our early intervention case management. This is for ages children 0 to 3 years old, and then 3 to 21 year olds with developmental or physical disabilities for service coordination or case management. That is resolution 29, 30, and 29 and 30. These are not reinsertions, but the budget's changed. These grants begin July 1, go from July 1 through June 30th. And what happened was we put in for the grants, we got letters of intent, and then we were asked to redo the budgets so that we would only be asking for insertions of 90 days. So each thing is going to be done quarterly now. And so that's why you're seeing these 3 requests for insertions again. So the $529,101 is from July 1 through September 30th, as is the resolution 3072,500. And then, let's see, where else? Okay, so those are the 2 for that. Number 32 is a program that's a new program that will be our employee wellness plan. And that's a grant of $20,000 over 2 years, so $10,000 a year, which began January 1st of this year and will go through 2021, right, I'm sorry, through 2021. Number 33 is a right to know grant, and that again is based on 1 quarter from July 1 through September 30th. Number 34 is 34, 35, and 36 are for our municipal alliances. This program was cut dramatically, and budgets had to be redone, and it's all again based on quarterly right now. So it's from July. Actually, I'm sorry about that. Hang on just one second, please. I apologize. It's quarterly, July 2020 to September 2020, and one is 85,853. The other is 55,260, and the third is 257,560. That's a revised letter of intent for October 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. The last resolution is our newest grant that we've been awarded, and that's one for our addiction services for fighting the opioid crisis. We have created a program which is an outreach program on wheels to go into the communities of Essex County, all 22 of them, on a regular basis, 5 days a week, from about 10 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon, to talk to the people and encourage them to come into recovery, or if they're co-occurring or have mental illness, to encourage them to get treatment, and also for the purposes of outreach for education and prevention measures. So we are now in the process. We've received 263,960, or a letter of intent for that amount of money for this purpose. We are working with Integrity House, and we will hopefully be partnering with Hyacinth, because Hyacinth will offer HIV testing and counseling. And also we are going to be working with the Mental Health Association at varying places depending on their availability. This is very exciting for us in Essex County. It's the first one of its kind for us to be doing, for Essex County to be doing, because you may be well aware that the Hope One van, which is a model that started in Morris County, was entered into with an agreement with Newark, and I think partnering with the Newark Police Department and facilitated maybe by the DEA, and they're pretty much based right at Penn Station. They only come out once a week on a Monday for about 4 hours, and that's a similar sentiment, but a different program. And that's what I have.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Parlavecchio?
I don't have any questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Commissioners? Okay, hearing or seeing none, I have a motion from Commissioner Cooper and a second from Commissioner Graham to take 29 through 36 as one. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Cooper,
Yes.
Commissioner Graham,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercado,
Yes.
Commissioner Pomares,
Yes.
Commissioner Vice President Richardson,
Yes.
Commissioner Siebel,
Yes.
Commissioner President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, moving to resolution number 37, which we can read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, this resolution will allow for our Department of Corrections to upgrade its semi-automatic weapons. This is obviously used for law enforcement. They're purchasing 100 new Glock 19s at $409 each, and trading in 100 Glock Generation 3 9mm at $270 each. resulting in a contract amount of $17,350. And the provider abides by the board's 2015 resolution regarding responsible use of armaments. And this is coming from operating funds.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio,
No comments.
Ms. McInerney,
No questions.
commissioners? Okay, hearing or seeing none, I have a mover on Commissioner Graham and a second by Commissioner Johnson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Siebold,
Yes.
Commissioner Vice President Richardson,
Yes.
Commissioner Pomares, absent Commissioner Mercado,
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Johnson, you're on mute. Okay. Commissioner Graham,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson. Okay. Absent Commissioner President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay. Thank you. Moving to resolutions number 38 and 39, which we can move into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, item 38 is a contract award to the 4 lowest responsive and responsible bidders to provide silkscreen and embroidered T-shirts. It's a 2-year contract, an amount not to exceed $270,000. 4 contracts were being recommended to Dot Designing from Monroe, New Jersey, Cover Stitches from West New York, Drew and Rogers from Fairfield, New Jersey, and Robbie Promotional from Lebanon, New Jersey. All of them are new, save for Drew and Rogers, which is an incumbent vendor out of Fairfield. You want to go through them all, or?
Yeah, please.
Item 39 is a request to expand amend the omnibus resolution. Due to the COVID crisis, we have been doing purchasing from state contracts and from county co-ops, and the limits that we had from the original resolution that the board passed no longer really work. So we're asking for an increase of that amount that will enable us to do the purchasing that we need to do from state contracts, bid exemptions, and also from various county co-ops. Item 40 is from the Office of the Sheriff, and it is a lease for additional space, for a much needed space to store PPE. It is a 1-year lease agreement with 1 additional year option. The amount is $25,200. It's again 2,100 square feet, and it's $2,100 a month. And it's for the sheriff, and just not enough room anymore at the OEM location, so they need to expand storage capabilities. And that's it.
Okay, Mr. Parlavecchio.
I don't have any questions.
McInerney.
No questions, Mr. President.
Okay, commissioners. Okay, I have a mover on Commissioner Johnson and a second from Commissioner Luciano for 38 and 39 as one. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Siebold,
Yes.
Commissioner Vice President Richardson,
No on 38 and yes on 39.
okay, Commissioner Pomares,
Yes on both, and kindly record me affirmative as well for 37 while I step down.
okay. Okay, Commissioner Mercado,
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes, and could you affirm me on number 37 also?
okay. Commissioner Graham,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper,
Yes.
President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, moving to resolution number 40, which we can read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
I actually went through that one, Mr. President.
Oh, I apologize. The sheriff's lease? Okay.
Yes.
Yep. Thank you. Moving to resolution number 41, which is a freeholder resolution.
Mr. President?
Yes.
We just need to take a vote on 40. I think we just took a vote on 38 and 39. So if we could get a second on 40 and then a roll call.
Okay, on 4D, we have mover Commissioner Luciano and a second by Commissioner Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder, Commissioner Cooper,
For 40, yes.
Commissioner Graham,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercado,
Yes.
Commissioner Pomares,
Yes.
Commissioner Vice President Richardson,
Yes.
Commissioner Siebel,
Yes.
Commissioner President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, moving to resolution number 41, which is a freeholder list resolution. Mr. McInerney. You're on mute, Mr. McInerney. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. We're talking about number 41.
41.
Yeah, I haven't seen this yet, so I really haven't gone through it. But I would go ahead and, I know the comments have been limited in the past few years. I don't believe I've gotten a copy of this yet. I could be wrong, but I haven't seen it.
Would you like us to hold this to the next meeting?
No, I don't think it's necessary. It's
Okay.
not much difference from year to year, and I don't have to.
Okay, Mr. Parlavecchio?
I don't have anything to add to that.
Okay, I have a motion from freeholder Mercado and Pomares. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel,
Yes.
Commissioner Siebel,
Yes.
Commissioner Vice President Richardson,
Yes.
Commissioner Pomares,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercado,
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Graham,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper,
Yes.
Commissioner President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, thank you. Moving to resolution 42. Commissioner Siebel, would you like to speak to 42?
Yes, I would. This is a very important resolution to me. I believe in national health care for everyone. My first cousin lives in France and has government national health care. My other first cousin lives in Australia and has the same national coverage. They've both had serious health issues and the coverage has been excellent. And this resolution was passed by the Township Council in Maplewood. And I worked with Council Member Dean Daffis who sent me the resolution which Maplewood passed. And I believe that the Essex County Board of Freeholders, Commissioners should also pass the same resolution. This resolution is almost just about identical to the one that Maplewood passed, and I look forward to the day when we have national health insurance for everyone in this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Siebold. I concur and agree with all of that, and I'm very happy to be a sponsor of this resolution. Commissioners.
Mr. President?
Mr. President,
Yes. Vice President Richardson.
I'd like to be added to that. I concur with everything that you and Commissioner Seaboard has said. I think that, healthcare is right. Everyone should have it. Please add my name.
Absolutely.
Great.
President,
Yes.
is there any way would you and Ms. Seabold mind if we made that through acclamation?
I think it would be great if it's by acclamation. It's a very, very important resolution, and it's something we need for this entire country.
Thank you.
This is Commissioner Mercado. I would agree and affirm to that.
Great. Unless there's an objection, we'll do it by acclamation. Is there any commissioners who do not want to be on this resolution? Okay, hearing or seeing none. We have a mover by Freeholder Seabold and a second from the Vice President Richardson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Seabold,
Yes.
Commissioner Vice President Richardson,
Absolutely.
Commissioner Pomares,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercado,
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Graham,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper,
Yes.
Commissioner President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you. Moving to 43 through 65. I have a motion from Vice President Richardson and a second from Commissioner Seabold. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Cooper,
Yes.
Commissioner Graham,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercado,
Yes.
Commissioner Pomares,
Yes.
Commissioner Vice President Richardson,
Yes.
Commissioner Seabold,
Yes.
Commissioner President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, move to resolution number 66. Vice President Richardson.
Yes, through you, Mr. President. I am honored to sponsor this resolution in support of NJ Shares. For those of you who don't know, NJ Shares is an organization that assists low to moderate income households with their energy bills. Unfortunately, for many hardworking residents in Essex County who do all they can to make ends meet, but sometimes fall on hard times, especially in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has forced many to shelter in place at the cost of employment. New Jersey Shares works collaboratively with roughly 300 partner organizations and legislative offices statewide to provide assistance to residents due to financial hardships. Therefore, in this resolution, we applaud New Jersey Shares for their efforts to relieve the financial burden of utility customers and recommend they operate the New Jersey Payment Assistance for Gas and Electric, or PAGE program. This program provides grants for delinquent payments for natural gas, electricity, and water accounts, ultimately ensuring safe, stable, healthy housing for all residents. In this unprecedented times, raising awareness to this need is the very least that we can do. So thanks again for this time and the opportunity to speak to this resolution. And I hope that all of the my commissioner colleagues will support this resolution. Thank you, Mr. President.
May I support it, please, also?
Me too.
Absolutely.
It's a wonderful program, a wonderful organization.
I'm in support.
And let's do it by acclamation.
Makes sense to me. Again, like Mr. President asked, is there anyone who does not want to be a part of this? So we'll do it via acclamation. Thank you so much.
It's a good resolution.
Thank you.
Okay, we have it moved by the Vice President and second by Commissioner Cooper. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder, Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
I mean, Commissioner Vice President Richardson. Commissioner Sebo.
Yes.
Commissioner Pomares.
Yes.
Commissioner Mercado.
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Graham.
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper.
Yes.
Commissioner President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay. Reports of board committees, legislative reports, written communication, unfinished business, new business. Commissioners? Hearing and seeing none. Madam Clerk, let's move to the public comment session on non-agenda items. Please read the names of the constituents, identify the topic, and read their comments into the comments and questions into the record, and we will respond in writing.
Mr. President, just a reminder that we are timing these submittals at 3 minutes per constituent. The first is Cassandra Doherty, no address given. Thanks for your progressive stand on eliminating private prisons in New Jersey. That's a good start, but we need more. We need the end of all ICE detention, and for you to stop calling immigrants, detainees, criminals, and to help justify their detention. We need you out of the corrupt death-dealing business of caging immigrants for county revenue, and we need to close all jails and prisons too. As a member of the Democratic Socialists of America, I demand more from you in the ICE contract now. The next is submitted by Sonia Maruka, no address given. Dear ladies and gentlemen, my name is Sonia Maruka, and I'm contacting you to thank you for your recent stands for immigrant rights in Essex County, and also to ask you to do more. The latest of these resolutions, number 58 from the last Freeholder Board meeting. It seems that it would be a step in the wrong direction. It denounces private for-profit prisons except the ones that provide reentry or rehabilitation services. You should be aware that the GEO Group is a notoriously ruthless for-profit prison company, which with its purchase of CEC in 2017 now operates 4 halfway houses in Newark alone. You should also know how deeply flawed, chaotic, and unsafe these facilities, which operate as a de facto prisons, are, as they were the subject of a series of articles in the New York Times in 2012 entitled Unlocked. Your resolution, in essence, endorses a free operation of GEO and other for-profit prisons in New Jersey as long as they add what they pass off as counseling to their website. You should also be fully aware that the Essex County contracts with the GEO Group. Our concern for the people who are in ICE detention extends to all incarcerated people. ICE detention is an integral part of the business of corrections and incarceration for profit. If you truly want to see justice done, you will have to dismantle the business of incarceration, beginning with the ending of the ICE contract and all other programs that generate revenue from the people who are incarcerated. Will you commit to a transparent listening process to determine how to responsibly end the ICE contract? In the interim, will you commit to working with the Essex County administration and continue to refuse to take any more people in the jail for ICE? Will you also engage in public community discussion about the best way to stop contracting with private prisons without exception and eliminate the use of incarcerated people to generate revenue for the county? The same comments and questions were submitted by Jordan Allen and Melissa McSwain and Melanie Silverstein. The next comment is by Anna Serguru, no address given. Hello, my name is Anna Serguru. I am contacting you in anger over the ongoing cruelty to those held at the Essex County Correctional Facility. According to the reporting from WNYC this week, Haitian immigrants Ernest Francois has faced retaliation from the corrections officers simply for exercising his free speech rights in talking to the press about the negligent medical care he's experienced at the ECCF. Do the freeholders think it's acceptable for a sergeant to exclaim white power to a Black man incarcerated in their jail? Is it all right for him to be sent homophobic and transphobic intra-jail mail with a picture of a gun to his head and KKK written on it for guards to shove and endure Mr. Francois? This is not the first time we've heard of such incidents. Jose Hernandez Velasquez was beaten by guards last year. Frank Karimu was sexually assaulted in custody and deported before an investigation could be undertaken. Multiple people have died inside ECCF in 2020 alone, and even Homeland Security itself condemned the facility in 2018. These are systemic patterns that cannot be swept under the rug, and they are the result of a county that has committed itself to mass incarceration and profiting from the Trump's war on immigrants. I'm calling to demand the end to this. Where is your moral compass? Where is your courage? We need to commit to dismantling our punitive correction systems and ending all cooperations with ICE. We see this racist violence every day. I'm angry for Mr. Francois, and I demand action. What will the freeholders do to right the wrongs they are inflicting? I would like a written response. The same comments and questions were submitted by Gregory Everett and Alexander Gose. The next comments was submitted by Marion Steinfeld of Cedar Grove. Sussex County and Morris County has demanded in-person voting. We have stood online for months now in stores, DMV, and on food lines. There is no reason not to have in-person voting and following suit with Sussex and Morris County. According to New Jersey Voters' Bill of Rights, my rights are being violated by Governor Murphy. The next comment was submitted by Claire Wang. No address given. Hello, my name is Claire Wang, and I'm writing in anger over your dismissal of the ongoing cruelty to those held at Essex County Correctional Facility by the administration and the continued silence of this Board of Commissioners. It is beyond outrageous that the administration would deny the use of solitary confinement at Essex County Jail when it is aware that the NYU Law School Immigrant Right Clinic published a 41-page report on this very topic. The denial of a culture of racially biased intimidation and abuse is nearly as galling. Racial slurs and threats against detainees have long been documented in a series of reports, as has the dangerously inadequate medical care. Serious medical neglect at ECCF was cited as a contributing to the death of Luis Alfonso Fino Martinez in 2016, according to a report from Human Rights Watch. Medical neglect was also one of the allegations of this lawsuit brought by the family of Lucas Vieira. He was found hanging while still in a straitjacket. However, the most embarrassing response from last week was the defense that there were only 2 deaths in jail since January. Perhaps 2 lives meant nothing to you, but I'm sure they meant a whole lot to their family and friends. These were 2 living human beings who were entrusted to your care and whom you failed utterly and completely to protect. These are systemic patterns that cannot be swept under the rug, and they are the result of a county that has committed itself to mass incarceration, profiting from Trump's war on immigrants. I'm angry for Mr. Francois, and I demand action. Will the commissioners commit to dismantling the punitive correction systems and ending all cooperation with ICE? In the immediate, I would like an answer to a few specific questions. How much money did the county gross from the ICE contract in 2019? How much did it track? How much is it on track to gross in 2020? How much money did the county actually net from the ICE contract in 2019 after all expenses were taken into account? Why is this money so important to the county that it will ignore the denial of due process, human rights violations, and cooperate with a racist administration? Why is it that Essex County can't live without the money that this contract generates? Looking forward to your response. The same comments and questions were submitted by Sonia Marukha and Jacqueline Braslow. The next comment is from Melissa McSwain. No address given. Good afternoon. I'm contacting you to thank you for the recent resolution supporting Black Lives Matter and calling for an end to the use of private prisoners in New Jersey. Is it necessary for publicly elected bodies to have It is necessary for publicly elected bodies to have public conversations about these fundamental injustices. However, I'm disheartened because the discussion is not extending to the disconnect between these values and the actual practices of Essex County administration. The Essex County Jail is incarcerating people for ICE for revenue, and it treats all the Black lives in the jails as bodies to be exploited for revenue. I'm also disheartened by the fact that Essex County continues to deny the systemic patterns of neglect and abuse in its jails. And I ask that you begin a public discussion at the meeting on September the 9th on how to end this contract to eliminate all other ways that Essex County is generating revenue from incarcerated people. In the interim, I would like the answers to a few specific questions. Why is the county estimating higher gross revenue for ICE in contract 2020 when the number of people in detention for approximately 6 months of this year has been far below 2019? How much money did the county actually net from the ICE contract in 2019 after all expenses were taken into account? Where in the county's budget or other records can you identify for me the line items indicating the revenues and the cost of incarcerating people for ICE? Could you identify any other line items in the budget or records where revenues are being generated from people in the jail? Lastly, when will the Community Oversight Task Force start meeting and hearing complaints? How can residents contact the chat like a formal response? The same comments and questions were submitted by Dr. Constant Cooper, Sarah Melendez, Beck Lyatt, Claire Wang, and Camilla Marcone. The next comment was submitted by Alana Horowitz Friedman, no address given. I am increasingly concerned about the statements that Essex County has made with regards to the immigrant community. Black Lives Matter and the ICE contract do not match up with their actions. While I applaud the resolutions in support of Black Lives Matter and in support of ending private prisons, it doesn't seem like Essex County is doing everything in its power to accomplish these stated goals. Abuses have been continuously reported at ECCF, and they can be swept under the rug or ignored by the promise, and they can't be swept under the rug or ignored by the promise of investigating. The people need more information as well as a commitment to continuous independent oversight and regulations, not just one-time investigations whenever something particularly heinous is reported. The contract also needs to be discussed more seriously. How much revenue is being generated, and why can't we find other ways to generate this revenue that don't devalue the lives of those detained inside? What are some responsible ways we can in this cooperation with ICE in order to be a part of the national effort to limit their detention capacity without people being transferred to other facilities? And if the contract is in place to avoid transfers to other facilities, why isn't it revenue neutral? Why are profits not going directly into legal support for those detained as well as immigrant advocacy organizations in our community? Please open a discussion about these important issues today. It is never okay to stay silent in the face of injustice, especially when the county is generating profits from these injustices. It is also not acceptable to justify injustices due to potential issues with some of the solutions. Let's take this opportunity to grow as a county by examining the assumptions that have long been made, and whether and how those can be challenged, as well as how we might be able to address and overcome any concerns about solutions to these injustices. Alternatives to business as usual always exist. I urge this board to open a genuine discussion as to how we can best end our cooperation with the systemic cruelty of ICE and the systematic cruelty of ICE and the Trump administration's immigration policy. It's within your power to imagine and enact a better future as a member of this community. I'm counting on you to do so. The next comment is from Kathy O'Leary of Pax Christi, New Jersey. Dear Essex County Commissioners, I will start as I usually do, and there will be no justice until you end the contract with ICE, until all immigrant detainees are free, and until you stop seeing people in your custody as units from which revenue is derived rather than as children of God. I will restrict my comments to the number of questions for the board. When will the Community Oversight Task Force begin meeting to hear complaints? Will those meetings be open to the public? How can members of the public contact the Community Oversight Task Force? How much money did the county net not gross from the ICE contract in 2019? What specific records are associated with these revenues? What specific line items in the budget did those revenues pay for? Why is the county estimating higher gross revenue from the ICE contract in 2020 than it did in 2019? It is clear that the number of occupied beds a day is drastically reduced from 2019 due to the pandemic. Can you explain your math? What has been the average number of ICE beds occupied per day so far in 2020? What was it for 2019? It is sad that we need to simply talk about dollars and cents. It is unfortunate that this board refuses to recognize that the people it incarcerates, whether on behalf of ICE or the prosecutor's office, are human beings. And the final comment was submitted by Christian Shea of Verona, New Jersey. Will the civilian task force be investigating the case of Farouk Cameroon or Jose Hernandez Velasquez, who both allege that they suffered abuse while detained at the ECCF? And Mr. President, those includes all the comments that we received for this prior to this meeting.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Many of those questions were actually addressed in the presentation from Governor McGreevey, but particularly with access to the independent task force. So I know we will, but please make sure that we get that information out on how people can contact the task force and participate in their work, as fast as possible.
Will do, Mr. President.
Thank you. Freeholder, we're gonna get it by the time it's January 1st. We'll be ready to go. Commissioners, any comments you would like to make? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Great, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Good to see you.
Take care.
So long, everyone.